Hey everyone, welcome back to Tone Chase Basement. Today, oh man, today I got the privilege to be one of the first people to show you this tube amp combo amp from one of my absolute favorite working man's boutique builders, Koch Amplification. And this amp here is their brand new Durango combo, a 12 watt EL34 powered British voiced beast in a not so small but super portable package. And spoiler alert, this thing blew me away so hard that I'm still not sure whether I should call this a review, a demo, or just 30 minutes of me smiling like an idiot while I'm playing guitar here. Yeah, this thing may look like a compact friendly little combo, but trust me, once you plug into it, it becomes one of those amps where you stop mid-riff, look up and go, okay, so this is the real deal. We are doing a proper long-form deep dive today, so sit back, relax, grab a coffee, tea or whatever you drink while you watch gear reviews. This is a full-on longer deep dive, so let's start. But before we start, please hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you want to support my channel, then there are affiliate links below in the description where also you can get this amp. If you like it and want to purchase it, please consider using my affiliate link because it supports my channel. So before we jump into the Durango, let's talk a little bit about Koch Amplification as a brand, because honestly, these amps deserve more recognition in the guitar world than they currently get. Koch Amplification is a boutique amp company from the Netherlands, founded by Dolf Koch, yes, Dolf, not Greg, sometime in the early 90s. Yeah, Greg Koch, the guitarist, has absolutely nothing to do with Koch Amplification despite having the same last name, except that he was one of their signature artists for a while, but the name is just a pure coincidence and the universe was having fun. Koch has always been known for precision engineered circuits, bulletproof build quality, and amps that feel like they were designed with real players in mind, not just for, marketing checkboxes. Every single feature on a Koch amp has a purpose. Nothing feels like, oh, we added this because every amp needs a button here. No, their stuff is just extremely well thought out. And these amps deliver what I'd call high-end boutique tone without the boutique price punishment that makes you cry when you look at your bank account. They aren't cheap, of course, but compared to many boutique builders, especially from the US or even other boutique amps from the EU, Koch is incredibly reasonably priced, so you genuinely get more value than what you pay for. And another thing I absolutely love, all Koch amps are hand-built in the EU, in the Netherlands. So for me, that matters because supporting smaller local manufacturers instead of giant factories on the other side of the world, mostly farther east, keeps the guitar industry alive, diverse and innovative. And Koch is exactly that in a world where so much gear comes mass-produced from the other side of the planet. Brands like Koch feel genuinely special, so you get to support a small, passionate, knowledgeable group of builders instead of some giant factory, churning out thousands of units a day. As Edwin from Koch told me, and I fully agree, Koch is the working man's boutique amp, and that's exactly what they are. So you get the boutique feel, the boutique tone, incredible fit and finish, even boutique packaging, but without boutique suffering for your wallet. And that is a win-win situation. This is gear you can actually play gigs with and not just put behind the glass. So Koch Amplification is actually in a really interesting period right now, kind of a renaissance moment. They told me that they went through some very difficult times during the pandemic, and not long after that, sadly, their founder Dolph Koch passed away, which left the company in a tough spot emotionally and strategically. But instead of fading away, they doubled down, they started innovating again, investing heavily in R&D, modern features, and updating their lineup for the 21st century guitarist. And it shows. They already released several new products, and trust me, from some long conversation I've had with them, there are several very exciting projects and products coming out soon. Some of those ideas, man, well, I can't say anything yet, but let's just say amp nerds will be very, very happy. So to me, Koch is entering a new chapter that's going to be extremely fun to watch. Alright, now let's get into the star of today's show, the Koch Durango. Now, the Durango is technically a new amp, but also not entirely new. It's actually based on the Little Gristle, which used to be Greg Koch's signature amp. But since Koch Amps and Greg Koch parted ways, the amp remains so popular and so loved that Koch decided to continue it, give it a new look, make a couple of small but meaningful changes, and re-release it as the Durango. So basically the Durango has the same DNA, the same vibe and the same personality, but think of it like a reboot, but in a good way. And yes, the name confusion continues. Greg Koch, Koch Amps, Durango, Little Gristle. It sounds like a family gathering where nobody knows whose uncle is whose, but you know, I think you'll get the vibe. Now on paper the Durango looks modest, so this is a 12 watt full tube combo loaded with a 12-inch Koch design speaker. Yes, the speaker is their own design too, not some generic OEM part. That's already rare in this price range. So there's one 12AX7 tube in the preamp, one EL34 in the power section, so it's pretty simple, right? But the moment when you actually turn it on, you realize that this is not a modest amp at all. The EL34 explains a big part of the punchy, full British voice of this amp, and let me tell you right away, this is the loudest 12 watt amps I've ever played. I'm not exaggerating. This thing is easily giggable for pubs and mid-sized stages. The cabinet is compact but not tiny. It feels substantial, but the weight is very manageable, so your shoulders will definitely not fall off while carrying it, which is very important because we all know 80% of the guitarists went digital for only one reason, because they are too soft to carry heavy amps anymore. So yeah, I'll never understand it. And the speaker, so this is important. This is not a standard Celestion or a Jensen or an Eminence thrown into the cabinet. It's a Koch designed, Koch built 12-inch speaker specifically voiced for this amp, and that explains why everything feels so cohesive. The amp and the speaker feel like one instrument and not two separate components forced into a one box together. And one thing I absolutely admire about the Durango is how simple the control layout is and how incredibly effective it ends up being. So, starting with the power section, so of course the on-off switch on the right, and next to it there is a three-way switch that gives you full power or low power and a bypass in the middle. So full power is the full 12 watts. And the low power brings it down to around 4 watts, and just a bypass. The 4 watt mode is super handy for home practice, late night playing, or if you want to break up at lower volumes. And importantly, the voicing of the amp is not affected at all when turning it down to the lower wattage. So yeah, big thumbs up for that. There is the gain and volume, so the drive and volume to be exact. And nothing surprising here, but the interaction between them is what makes this amp so dynamic. At lower gain, the Durango is sparkly, articulate and tight, and as you push the gain, you get this gorgeous chewy breakup that feels alive under your fingers. But the magic really is in the tone knob here. There is no 3-band EQ, just this one tone control, and some of you might go, ah man, only one knob, but trust me when I say this is one of the best single knob tone controls I ever used on any amp. I don't know what kind of witchcraft Koch applied here, but every guitar I plug in sounds like itself, but even better. Single coils stay full and round, humbuckers stay tight and articulate, never sound muddy or flubby. The P90s become massive and juicy, and the highs remain refined and never harsh. With just a small turn of the tone knob, you can dial in the perfect sweet spot for each guitar, and that's, I just love it. Then you get a beautiful real Sping reverb tank, so not digital, not a DSP algorithm pretending it's Spring, it's a real physical tank and it sounds exactly like it should. Subtle ambience when low and proper drippy surface splash when you crank it. There is also a boost switch and here, but this isn't a second channel, it's more of a gain voicing enhancer, let's say. It adds bite, harmonic richness, and that gristle of course, but still keeps the amp's core character intact. You can even get chimey cleans with the boost engaged, which says a lot, and with gain up, you get a really sweet British breakup. And speaking of modern features, Koch included a cab filter here, and it's a recording or PA out, which means that you can plug this amp directly into a PA system or straight into your audio interface for silent recording. But note, you have to unplug the speaker cable on the backside in the cabinet first, and then there is an internal load, so don't worry, the amp won't get damaged without the speaker connected. And the cab emulation is surprisingly good on it. And I always compare everything to my Captor X with on-hammer IRs because I'm picky. But the Durango's DI actually impressed me in a very good way. And it's, totally usable and has that plug and play vibe. So how does it sound? Let's talk about its voicing. If I had to place it somewhere, I'd say the Durango lives right between Marshall and Vox territory, but without trying to clone either of them. It has its own thing going on really. So the clean sounds have a touch of a Marshall mid-forward presence, but with that open top end and chime you'd expect from a Vox. When you push the gain, it doesn't turn into a GCM 800 and don't even expect that. It becomes more like a sweet, smooth, harmonically rich AC30 style velvety overdrive. Very dynamic, very expressive, and one of those amps where your picking hand genuinely matters. The breakup is silky rather than aggressive, and the sustain blooms and the harmonics jump out, and the amp remains articulate even with the gain up. It's very much that classic British singing character rather than punch you in the face rock, and I really like how it sounds. And now this is crucial in 2025 because we live in the golden age of pedal wars, giant ones, tiny ones, spaceship-sized ones, and the big question is always, does it take pedals? Yes, it takes pedals extremely well, even without an FX loop. As long as you set the amp clean or slightly edge of breakup, your delays and reverbs and modulation effects will sit perfectly behind your dirt pedals. And dirt pedals themselves feel great into it. Boosts, overdrives, distortions, fuzzes, they all retain their character. There's plenty of headroom and the amp never compresses in a weird, unpleasant way. It's one of those amps that feels like it was built with pedals in mind from the start. So big thumbs up for that. It has much headroom even with only 12 watts. One thing that stands out about the Durango is how clean and elegant the build is. And when you look inside the back, the wiring is tidy and neat, the layout is smart, and there's a very reassuring sense of order. So Koch even adds a protective metal cage over the EL34s to keep it safe and keep you safe from the burns, which is, a small but very thoughtful touch. and the Tolex feels rugged and durable, the cabinet construction feels strong and solid, and the speaker integration feels very intentional. This is not an amp you worry about gigging with, it feels built to last. But it's priced like that you think like, wait, why is it not more expensive? Well, they achieved it to do it with this pricing, and that's a huge bonus. And now if you're wondering whether this amp fits your style, here's the honest answer. It does everything, almost everything, exceptionally except heavy metal. So it's really great for clean jazz, funk, indie, blues, classic rock, alternative, studio work or home practice. You know, it handles all of that wonderfully, and you will be absolutely at home with the Durango. Its versatility isn't something coming from million switches and knobs, but from how dynamic, expressive and fundamentally musical it is. So after spending quite a bit of time with the Durango, here's my honest take. I think this is one of the best working musician boutique amps released in recent years. It's light, it's loud, it's extremely well voiced, simple but powerful, pedal friendly, DI ready, built with care and priced in a way that feels almost too reasonable for what you're getting. And it feels like a boutique amp made for real people who actually play gigs and not for collectors who keep amps in glass cases. Who does that anyway? Koch is clearly entering an exciting new era, and if this is a sign of what's coming, then we guitarists are, going to have some very fun times ahead. So, highly recommended. And thanks to Koch for sending this over, and a huge thanks to all of you for hanging out today with me. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, then please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you very soon here on Tonči's Basement with some more gear, more nerding out and more fun. So see you in the next one. And remember, the perfect tone is always just within reach.